So you've decided you're gonna go and get started with game development. Excellent choice. However, I think that there are some things that beginning game developers often don't think about, especially if they have never really tried to work on a game before or have never really had any programming or game related experience. So in this video, I want to talk a bit more about some things you should consider if this is your very first time starting game development and this was by chance the first video you clicked on. A little bit about me, why should you listen to me? I'm the creative director and producer here at our own indie studio, Bite Me Games. I've been managing the development of our own game Forge Industry for the past 1.5 years, as well as creating this kind of educational content every week aimed towards beginning and intermediate game developers. So I have helped them quite a bit, and I've also interacted a lot with local game developers as well. So I think I know a few things that maybe you haven't thought about. So let's go. I think the first thing we need to do is I need to get real with you guys, and you need to go into this thing expecting to fail. So many game developers work on their game for months or even years, but they do something wrong, whether that's marketing, whether that's just not making a good game, or maybe they're just unlucky and they release on the same day as some other big games and they end up with like 10 sales and, well, their project was a failure. If you go and just look at Steam alone, every day I think about 400 games get released. So it's really a competition. It's all fun and games until you need to make money from it. So if you go into this just to learn a bit and something new, but you're not really expecting a financial outcome, perfect. If you are expecting to get rich and whatever and get the Lamborghini from making games because you're gonna make the new Elden Ring, I'm gonna be real with you, you're probably gonna fail your first game, also probably your second game, but hey, maybe you get lucky, or maybe just by being consistent enough, you'll actually get somewhere. So I think just have some reasonable expectations, please, before we go into this. You're not gonna make the new Breath of the Wild. Okay, so you've tempered your expectation a little bit. Now we can get to actually start working on our game. First thing I would ask you is, how far are you currently in your development stage, in your pre-production stage? Do you just have basically a one-sentence idea of what you want your game to be? Or have you maybe gotten some examples, some mood boards, a few different games that have the style or the genre or the gameplay that you want to implement? I would really think a bit more about how you want your actual game to be, so once you start actually developing, when the rubber meets the road, you'll know what to do and you'll know what kind of modeling software you'll need to use, or what kind of drawing software, or what engine even maybe. And there's a variety of ways to do this. The best thing I can recommend to you is to just go into YouTube and Google one-page game design document, one-page GDD. We'll probably make our own version at some point as well, but we don't have that one yet. So there are plenty of other good examples on the internet right now. And get one with a free template and fill in the template, and it's stuff like, what is your story, what is your gameplay mechanics, what makes your game unique. Try to make a unique game. If it's just for learning, again, you can just make clones basically, but if you really want to sell something, you should make something that's unique of your own and that adds something new to the gaming space. And once you have your idea, you can also start thinking about what skills do you currently have. Maybe you're just like me or the rest of our team and you already had some software development experience in, for example, C#. Well, then going to the engine Unity would be the best thing. If you have a lot of experience in C++, getting something like an Unreal Engine is also very good. There's plenty of engines out there. Don't worry, pick one basically at random almost. If you have no preference, go to Unity or Unreal. You'll be able to make your game. And then I would also suggest that you already start researching a bit more what you want to do with things like music. This is something that's very often overlooked. Do you just want to go asset-wise, or do you want to make your own music? Do you have the skills to make your own music? As well as your 2D or 3D asset. Is your game going to be a three-dimensional game so the camera can move around 360? Or is it two-dimensional, side-scroller, platformer, top-down, whatever, where you'll be drawing everything? This is a very big difference in the kind of skills you need, the kind of tools you'll need to use, and how long your game may take to develop. Depending on if you go for a very rough and like cozy art style versus something like low poly modeling versus something like high poly modeling. These things matter as well. This research step should have taken some time, but now that you've figured out what will you be needing to do, are you going to have to learn programming from scratch? Or are you going to have to learn 3D modeling from scratch like I did, for example? This should allow you to start making some rough, very bad estimations to how long it will take for you to learn something. The most important thing you should do now is make a timeline of when you're starting, when you're working, and when you're planning on releasing. This is also where you would start doing something like project management. A really good resource that I can suggest to you is to use a free Trello board. that allows you to split up tasks so you can see what's in progress, what you're gonna need to do still. We use a bit more of a sophisticated approach because we have 4 people and we track it with our version control. We use GitLab. That's also an option if you want, but not the one I would immediately recommend if you're just doing this solo as your first game. So now you have your timeline, great, triple it. Normally in development we say double, but because you're still going to have to learn a bunch of things that you think are gonna be easy, like for example, implementing certain mechanics or making 3D models and making them move, you'll actually realize that they're a huge pain in the ass to get working or to understand how they're working to begin with. So have ample of time that you can use to learn these things still. It's best to set a deadline that's a bit further out, but that you know you'll actually be able to deliver, than having to move your deadline 5 times during the development process. But why a timeline in the first place? Well, you want to put some pressure behind your game. You don't want your game to end up in limbo. This is where you just keep working on your game, similar to how Stardew Valley was developed, which took 5 years of just one guy. Yeah, the guy has a success now, but it was a huge gamble and he had support from his girlfriend. You probably don't have that kind of time or money to sustain 5 years of development just to gamble it all on one game. Because as I said, first thing is expect to fail. The more you make games, even if they fail, if you make another game, there's a higher chance that that one will be a success. And then the last thing I would recommend is that you get started interacting with the game dev community as fast as possible once you've decided to get involved with game development and making your own games. Now, there's a variety of ways to do this. Simple ones are, for example, following people on Twitter who are related to game dev, who share their experiences, and actively interacting with them, providing feedback, asking them questions, things like that. They like engagement. I never fully understood Twitter, but it works for game devs. Another thing, for example, is to join multiple game development related Discords, see if you can pick up a few things there, and also try and make a name for yourself, especially in the indie scene. Who you are is part of your identity as a studio, and sometimes, even if your games aren't ideal, just from the fact that you are a game dev influencer almost, or someone who's active in the community, you'll get some kind of following. And then one more thing you can do if you're in these Discords and such is start volunteering to help with playtests. It will give you a better idea into how does the development process of a game work, how do playtests work, what is an average product that a game development company may release an indie studio, and what are some things that you can learn maybe from the playtests that their game does that's not so great, or that you would change, for example, and maybe you can even make a spin on that. Keep in mind that all of these things are basically a form of marketing for you and your indie studio, which is probably the most critically overlooked part of beginning game developers. They don't think about marketing at all until their game is done. So they spend 6 months to a year working on an awesome game, but then once the game releases, they have the problem of who do we sell this game to? They haven't thought about marketing, and then suddenly they have to spend a lot of money on ads and things like that don't even have a guaranteed return on investment. And one bonus tip I just thought about is don't be scared of people stealing your idea. Nobody cares about stealing your idea, but it is important that you talk to other people about what is your idea, so you can immediately get some feedback of, actually bro, I don't know if this game is really that hot, just as a bit of a sanity check that you don't make something that nobody is interested in. I see a lot of game developers often come to me and they're like, oh yeah, I have this game idea I want to talk to you about, do you think it's good? But you have to sign this NDA. Nobody wants to sign your NDA, nobody cares. We're all too busy making our own dream games to be thinking about stealing your idea. We just want to help you. So you don't even have to go to randoms, just go to your friends or whatever. They'll probably have some feedback as well. And maybe they don't even have the technical skills to steal your idea if you're really scared of it. And that should be about the main things that I think about that you need to watch out for, or you need to consider before you actually start working on your game. Now, maybe I sounded a bit like a downer in the beginning, but if you're not watching this video at 3 AM whilst also looking at some motivational videos about how you're gonna better your life, but this is actually something that you've thought about a bit more and you are going to go fully for, I have full confidence that you'll be able to make a game at least. I can't give you any guarantees on marketing, but I'm sure that at least technically and gameplay wise, you can make a good game. And apart from that, if you're new here, we make game development related content. The deal is simple. We make 2 videos a week, and in return, we just ask you guys to subscribe and get all of this cool content the moment we release it. That's all I have for this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.